Welcome to Worth Following Weekly, where we share 5 minutes together each week, learning the skills and concepts together to help us all become leaders who are worth following. I'm your host, lead consultant for Roots to Sky Consulting, Mark Legvold. Last week, we focused on the face, really keying in on the nonverbal cues that others send. Did you practice your observation skills? Really noticing the eyes, eyebrows, jaw, lips, and forehead while someone else was speaking? It's a great start to develop your own superpowers, practicing full body communication so you and others can be better heard and understood. The work of Dr. Albert Moravian taught us that 55% of the feelings we're trying to communicate comes down to body language, and the face is really just a part of it. We also learned from former FBI agent and expert in nonverbal observation, Joe Navarro, that if we really want to understand somebody, we have to truly observe and study what they're communicating with their whole body. Here's an example. My brother's a gifted musician and a musical conductor. 2 weeks ago, he had the opportunity to play with the Minnesota Orchestra at Orchestra Hall in Minneapolis. And my wife and I attended and watched the world-renowned conductor guide the ensemble through some very challenging pieces of music. His whole body was engaged in getting not only the varied instruments to start playing on time, but also to convey the emotion of the piece they were performing. I noticed that from his feet to the top of his head and even his pinky on his left hand, everything was fully engaged, and the musicians responded with beautiful music. Communication, effective communication, is really a dance that we all need to work to master. Thinking of the right words to say is only a small part. Remember, 7% of that dance. And the rest is your voice, your tone, your volume, and your pitch. That's 38%. The body is 55%. Effective communicators and purposeful leaders, just like skilled conductors, cue in on how their body is used. Communication is a dance, and you have to be in tune with not only yourself, but also your partner. So let's start with something simple, like where you position yourself when you're communicating with someone. Are you standing too close or too far away? Sometimes that's a tough question to answer unless you're really in tune with your partner. In the region that I'm from, 18 inches is a standard comfortable distance when having a conversation. In fact, it's pretty average, 18 inches, about 1.5 feet. If I need to be closer to hear what's going on without making the person uncomfortable, I turn my head and lean in a little. Other regions and cultures are more comfortable a little bit closer, and others are comfortable a little farther away. If you're dancing with someone, you understand and you read their cues. Once we're at a comfortable distance, focus on your posture. From your head to your toes, you should be relaxed but not rigid. Hands visible, crossed in front of you or behind you, and definitely not fidgeting. Learn how to stand with your hands at your sides, relaxed, and that takes some practice if you're used to putting them in your pockets or standing with them crossed. Head up, slightly back, move your shoulders to better posture too. Feet face the person you're talking to. If you've gotten into slouchy or stiff stance habits, it takes some time to not only realize what needs to be corrected, but also to do the work purposefully in those moments to make those changes. But making these changes, like others, it's hard. So here's a tip. It's called mirroring. Mirroring is when we adapt and adopt the postures and movements of the person we're communicating with. No power plays here. No discomfort. It's just an easier way to tune into the person you're wishing to communicate with while working on establishing better habits for ourselves. In fact, people naturally do this in social situations and even in the workplace. People will naturally adopt the stance, posture, and movements of those they spend the most time with in order to build comfort in those communities. So, as someone working on becoming a leader worth following, if you just put a bit of thought into mirroring those you're communicating with, just slightly, you'll be on your way to putting them at ease and more able to fully hear your message. Look, there's a lot to mastering the art and the dance of nonverbal communication. People like Joe Navarro have published a literal library of tips and tricks that you can spend a lifetime studying and mastering. But it really comes down to observation of yourself and observation of others. If you're in tune to the way you make others act and are self aware enough to adjust in the moment, you'll find that your nonverbal superpowers will grow in strength, and so will your influence as a leader worth following. As long as we're talking about influence and becoming a leader worth following, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to these weekly episodes. They're also available on our website, rootstoskyconsulting.com. And you can comment too, or drop us a line at the website if you'd like to engage Roots to Sky to come to your workplace and help you and all your developing leaders grow into leaders who are worth following. We'll see you next week.